First of all, I want to thank Councillor Pasternak for giving us a chance to come out here and speak about an issue that impacts all of Toronto, but it's being hidden by marketing campaigns and spin-off campaigns that make it look like, no, it only impacts the waterfront. The fact of the matter is that everyone from Toronto goes to the waterfront. There's 17 million people who go to the waterfront every year. The second tourist destination that comes close is CN Tower, which is about 2 to 3 million people every year, and we ignore that. But what's going on is that we're finally investing money in the waterfront, and there's about $4 billion of investment. 1.6 is our taxpayer dollars, about 2.6 is private investment on the waterfront to revitalize it, to make it look like the waterfront that we want it to be, to make it look like the waterfront that we look at other cities waterfront to be. So we look at Chicago and we say they have a beautiful waterfront. Why can't Toronto be like that? Well, that's exactly what's going on. Now, what Mr. Toulouse wants to do is talk about just one issue, so that everyone else forgets about all the other issues that have been highlighted by city staff. And city staff is here, so you can ask about those issues as well. But the key factor is, if you build a bigger airport, you have to build the infrastructure to support that airport. And where does that cost for the infrastructure come from? That cost comes from our pockets and our taxpayer dollars. I want to thank you for giving us a chance to speak here, but one thing that becomes completely clear is that this city has problems. And this city has bigger problems to fry and to resolve, whether it's transit, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's development, bigger problems that our taxpayer dollars need to go to, than helping Mr. Toulouse build his company and helping Mr. Toulouse ruin our waterfront. Now, Mr. Toulouse would help you believe that. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. Mr. Toulouse would want you to believe that it's a small claim, it's a small incremental. His words that he would use is modest increase into the water. Well, 400 meters of landfill into the water is not modest. And the fact of the matter is that it's not his decision to make. He's running a company. It's not his decision to make whether it's 400 meters or whatever it is. It's Transport Canada. And Transport Canada tells us that they haven't even proposed or sent in a formal proposal to Transport Canada to make the decision, but they're forcing Councillor Pasternak, they're forcing everyone else in the city to make this decision. They're taking our taxpayer dollars to make this decision. So how long has this fight already been in the market, in our place? We've been fighting it since April. Since April, full-time city staff has been assigned to this fight to study and to prove to Mr. Toulouse why this is a bad idea. Who pays for that?
April of which year?
April of this year. Oh, sorry, April of 2013. Yeah, I forgot, it's 2014. But here's the question. Who pays for that city staff time? Our taxpayer dollars do. So why are we paying for Mr. Toulouse's business plan to try to make him understand why his plan is a bad idea? When you take an airport, which is currently running at 2 million passengers a year, and you project it to increase it to 4.3, 4.6 million passengers a year, that growth requires infrastructure costs. And those infrastructure costs come out of our pocket. This city has bigger fish to fry, and the island airport expansion is definitely not one of the things that we need to focus on. We have Pearson. Pearson is growing. 2015, we have Union Pearson Airlink, which takes you from Union to Pearson 25 minutes, every 15 minutes, door to door. They haven't brought that up yet, right? But it's a diesel train right now, but they started the EA on electric trains.
Why didn't they do that when they started?
Ask the province. That's not an answer that I would have, right? Ask the province. But the fact of the matter is, if this is a matter of convenience, then convenience is answered. If this is a matter of convenience, then I would love for Mr. Toulouse to answer a question to say, hey, if you're going to increase 2 million to 4 million, and it's one small street that takes you to the airport, how are you going to solution that? And if 70% of your traffic comes by car, and they're going on the same street, and that street, my friend, is not going to extend because there's a park on one end, and there's a school on the other. Now, the Toronto Board of Health clearly came out and said this is a bad idea, and they said no. They said no expansion. Toronto Board of Health did. But Mr. Toulouse doesn't bring that up in his ads that he puts in. $40,000 a full-page ad. I'm a not-for-profit organization. and you give me that money, I'll tell you the truth. I won't spin it. I won't tell you the lies of we're trying to close down the airport. NoJetsTO stands for the airport. We're saying save it. Save the regional boutique airport that it is, and take your jets to Pearson. So if Mr. Cruz wants to answer a question, just answer one simple question. Why not Pearson? Why not take your jets to Pearson and create a third airline that this country needs at Pearson and give us those benefits at Pearson, where jets are already allowed to land? Why ruin the investment that Waterfront Toronto has made into our city and ruin our waterfront?
Why should the people that live out in Pearson have to have more traffic then?
Well, here's the thing. So absolutely.
Somebody's going to have to take it.
And absolutely, and I agree with you. Somebody's going to have to take it. But if they're whisper jets, if they're whisper jets, and if they're quiet jets, then wouldn't you want quiet jets to fly over the houses that are already suffering from noise and pollution, then have jets fly over houses that don't currently have that? Absolutely.
Better trains.
I am. Absolutely. I live right across from it. I walk to it.
So you know what calculate the noise level of new jets proposed against the union.
Sir, what I'm saying is noise is a very small part of this. That's why I didn't bring up noise when I spoke about it. Noise is a very small part of it.
Who's paying for the questions discussed by the council when, let's say, some architectural changes are coming to Central Florida? Because you're telling us that the reporter is not paying anything for discussing. Who's paying for the architectural changes?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question. So the architectural, so whatever the infrastructure changes are, who's paying for that? So from the city staff report, the city staff report is quite clear. Actually, that says the infrastructure cost to accommodate these changes might be anywhere from $180 million to $300 million. I'm not understanding the question, sir. Please.
Now, the question I have is Transport Canada more knowledgeable on this issue than you are? Like, when they make their decision, will they make it pulling things out of the air, or will they make it based on
Well,
facts?
absolutely. Transport Canada is definitely more knowledgeable than we are, but they haven't made a decision.
Make their decision before we start yelling about things that...
Well, we would say the same thing. Shouldn't we allow Transport Canada to certify the claim before we even start talking about the claim?
But they're not going to allow the plane to land in Canadian soil until they certify the plane.
Well, that's perfect. Then why do we need to approve the plan now before the claim gets certified?
There's no point in doing either. Like, shouldn't we allow this to be the government's responsibility and not a non-profit?
And I say that to Mr. Duluth, send your plan with Toronto Port Authority to the Transport Canada and stop wasting our city time. That's exactly what we're saying. This is not an issue for city to solve. This is an issue for federal government to solve, and then let us know.
Have to go somewhere. It's better off here someplace.
Questions? Well, thank you. Good questions, sir. You're awesome.
I've been down at the waterfront when the planes are taking off and coming down. And yes, you can hear them. Does it bother me? Let's put it this way. I'm glad I don't live down there.
Thank you. But once again, there's a problem. If we focus, like any other issue in the city, if we talk about transit, if we just focus on a very small part of that transit issue, then we're ignoring the entire issue in general. If we just focus on noise, we're ignoring health. Why did David McEwen, the medical officer of health, clearly say this is a bad idea for Toronto? Why did Toronto Public Health vote no against this? Because this is a bad idea for Toronto. Mr. Duluth doesn't want to put that in his $40,000 paper ads because that's bad for business. If I was him, I wouldn't do that either. But what we're saying is this is a bad idea for Toronto. Everyone knows it, and we're hoping that Councillor Pasternak will vote no against this as well. Yes.
You know, if people think that there's congestion with traffic now, God forbid if they extend the airport, the traffic will be unbelievable.
If you've driven down Bathurst, and if you've been on Bathurst and Lakeshore during rush hour or peak hours, you know how bad it is. And Lakeshore Avenue is the third artery into downtown Toronto. We have the DDP, we have the Gardiner, and we have Lakeshore. Now add 1.6 million more cars by 2014 because 70% of everyone that comes to this airport comes by cars. more cars in that same small area, which is already as messed up as it is, and make it worse. Bad idea. And that's why we're saying no. We're not saying no to close down the airport, so stop lying to the people. Stop paying $40,000 ads and saying we're closing down the airport. We're not. The first thing we say on our website, if you go there, sir, is that we stand with the airport. We accept the airport as is. So if you want to take your conjecture and spin it, be my guest, but that's your money being wasted. Well, let's talk about water. So at Toronto Port Authority clearly states that what they do with de-icing fluids is they capture it. I'm way over. I know it. I'm sorry. Is they capture it and they release it into the sewer systems. So it goes into the sewer system of the thing. Now, de-icing fluids are known to be carcinogenic, and that goes into our system. Sorry, guys, but I appreciate the question.
No, anyway, I thank you for your opinions. I gave you a bonus of 5 minutes. And if anyone has any other questions for NoJets, or if Mr. DeLuce is actually still here, you can talk to them at the